Hi, my name's Glenn. I'm a photographer who's teaching himself how to do video. And these videos, these YouTube things that I'm putting up, are sharing and an excuse for me to learn. Okay, so today's video, this is episode 5. There's a couple of things I'm looking at here. The first off is right now I'm using a microphone through a Logitech DAC, which is probably crap, into my Mac and being recorded with a program called Audacity. And the idea is to try and improve the audio because my voice was a little bit suspect, was a little bit low last time. Let's see if we can get a better recording with this time. One of my concerns is my camera runs at a frame rate of 2997. But my editing is going to be at 30 frames. How do I set it at 30 frames? Unfortunately, I'm using iMovie. And the way you set it, the frame rate, is by the first clip that you put there. So that stupid recording of me at the beginning, I put that there because that sets the frame rate at 30 frames per second and at 4K. Because the first frame, or the first frames, is what sets the whole iMovie. Maybe iMovie is going to be replaced in the future. I don't know. I'm still learning all of this stuff. But the 2997 versus 30, what does that mean? Well, it means that this is going to be playing, when it gets played back, is going to play back a little bit slower, so that there'll be might be a shift between the audio and the video over time. How much will that be? I don't know. I think it's 2% difference, 1%. I used to know this stuff, but I don't know it right now. So what will happen is as time goes on, is that it will change a little bit. So what I'll do is towards the end of this recording is I will play back both the audio from the camera and the audio from the Mac and see how much they've slipped out. It might not be a problem. I've never worked with digital like this before. Maybe it's not going to be an issue. So today what I'm going to show you is me playing with the results of me playing with the Osmo Pocket, doing some what do they call it, time lapse or motion lapse. So basically you do a time lapse. A time lapse is where you do a shot, a shot, a shot, a shot, and a shot, and then you put it together into video. And with the Osmo, you can also get it to move while you do that, which is really cool if you've got the proper subject. So what I did is I tried it a couple of times tracking shadows, and it was pretty cool. I'll show you those. And then I set it up to track the sunset against the ocean. That looks like crap. I mean, the moving waves look like crap on the timeline, on the time lapse. So I'll show you what that looks like, and it looks really crappy, like I said. So I learned that when I do time lapse of sunsets over the ocean, to not catch the waves, so reframe it, and I'll do a crop to show you that. The other thing I worked with is a little bit on slow motions. Waves and slow motion are actually pretty cool. The Osmo has ability to do, I think it's 4 times slow-mo, 120 frames a second, and it looks pretty cool. I like that. So I'm going to play some more with that. And I think there's also some slow-mo from my XT100 from my small Fuji camera, so I'll do that as well. Anyway, how long have I been talking here? So this is 5 minutes that I've been talking. I might cut some of this out so that you don't have to sit through all of this. but we'll listen to see how much change there's been, how much drifting there's been between the camera and the computer, and to see if I'm going to be able to do this, if I'm going to be able to sync this up. Again, I'm learning. Thanks for following me in the journey to learn. Oh, and I don't have to worry about the dog coming with the snaps. The dog's off visiting somebody else for the day. Well, that was a really interesting experiment. So if I run, that was 5 minutes long, and you probably couldn't have noticed the difference if I hadn't pointed it out. Still something I need to know. It's something that is useful to know. I don't think it'll be much of an issue for most of what I do. The Fuji only does 15-minute takes anyway without the hand grip. It's a heat issue or something like that. I don't know the details. But it's a piece of photo gear that makes movies, good movies. So I probably won't have to deal much with it. But it's good to know. That's a good experiment. So now that I know if I have multiple cameras running at different frame rates, there might be issues there. If I'm running different recording devices. But I can't see it's something I'm going to have to deal much with. Now the next thing for today, since I'm pushing the envelope here, is trying to figure out how to do voiceovers with my larger Mac. The first recording I tried with the voice, it sucked. It would be okay for doing FaceTime or something like that. So I'm going to try different things. Probably put headset on because I've got headset that I use for teaching, so I'll just try that. That might be the easiest way to do voiceovers instead of trying to rig some other microphone thing. Yeah, I think I'll try headset microphone and see how that works. And maybe that'll do my voiceovers. Okay, so this is a Motionlapse, is what DJI calls it. I think this was about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and this one was 20 minutes. So you set it up so you can start the camera and it takes a picture and it moves slowly across, and this looks pretty cool. I mean, I don't know what I'm going to use it for yet, but again, this is a learning process for me, so I like this. So that kind of worked on my porch, so I went to do sunset and it doesn't quite work. The wave action just doesn't fit for this motion lapse. I mean, in this case, it kind of looks almost nauseating as it comes towards you, and it's so distracting. So framing with this is pretty critical for, at least for sunsets, and you'll probably see quite a few sunsets from me. So what I've done now is I've done a crop of the same footage, and it's a pretty tight crop, but now the wave is a lot less distracting. The wave action is a lot less distracting, so you can concentrate on the sky and the sky movement and the changing of the colors and the sunset. So that's you'll see more of this as I get to play with this some more. So this is the Osmo recording at slow speed, slow-mo, and this is 4 times. Now, not a great shot, but again, the results are pretty cool. Now, just try and figure out how to get these shots without getting the camera wet. Placement is going to be an issue, but the slow-mo is still fun to work with. I think, again, this is a tool in my toolbox that I'll probably use a lot. Now, this next sequence is something very interesting. So this sequence was recorded at 60 frames per second, playback in iMovie as normal, so it's playing it back at 30 frames per second. I'm not sure what it's doing, but it's playing back as it would be at normal speed, and then it looks good. I mean, it's nothing spectacular, but it looks good. Now the same playback but played back at 50% speed. It's nice and smooth and it works out really well. I like it. This is something I'm going to use again. Recording it at 60p. Then what I decided to do is I'd heard about being able to adjust color in Lightroom. So I put this into Lightroom, played with the color. Lightroom can only put out at 30 frames per second. So this is the output, normal speed. It's interesting look. I don't know if I'll use this look at some point, but again, it's interesting. And then I slowed it down, and as you'll see in the next one, is I found out the main difference between slowing down, doing slow-mo within iMovie versus doing it in camera. So on the left is 30 frames per second, playback speed 50%, and on the right is 60 frames per second recording, playing back at 30 frames per second. And just the difference in the smoothness. So the in iMovie slow motion versus the nice doing it in camera and then slowing it down. It's just so much superior. I'm glad I did this because this shows me why, if I want to do something in slow-mo, I need to shoot it at 60 frames per second and then play it back at 30 frames per second, which gives you that slow motion effect, and how much nicer it is. That last part was really interesting. I'd started out just to play with color. I'd heard about how in Lightroom you could do color grading, and adjusting color is so important with any type of photography, video, whatever. So I need to learn how to do that. Something I'll do later on, I think. But the slow motion effect and the way that iMovie deals with the slow motion is important. So now I know that how I need to record it, either at 120 frames per second with the Osmo or 60 frames per second with the Fujis. And with that and the playback speed is what's going to get me that buttery smooth, interesting expression, that buttery smooth slow motion. Because for what I want to do, slow motion is going to be a part of my shooting. So now I understand that it has to be done in camera for me to be happy with it. Anyway, I hope this was interesting for you. If you find it interesting, like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.